What is up, you heathens and demons, you sinners and saints, you beautiful, blasphemous people? Welcome back to The Rage. I am the Raging Atheist. And today, with all the drama, with the constant drama with Cupcake, with all the new drama with Icky Taint and Mad Ducks, I wanted to show you guys a good relationship with a Christian, like a good Christian, a good dude. So finally, I'm going to mirror my buddy Justin's episode from when he came to Battle Creek and we met, me and Justin Khoe, that Christian vlogger. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let me know what you think in the comment section below.
What I did was I was picking on girls, and I was like, I got to stop picking on girls. So I typed in Christian men, and you were the first guy that popped up.
You're like, great, let's get this guy.
Yep, I'm going after him. And I did. I don't think you said too much in that video that I really took issue with, but I found stuff to take issue with, and I railed on you pretty hard. That was back in my staunch anti-theism days when I was looking for somebody to point a finger at, and I didn't want that finger pointing at women anymore. So I'm just going to find the first guy that I could, and it led me to you. And when you responded back, it's changed pretty much everything,
Today, I want to introduce you to my friend Ronnie. Ronnie is without a doubt the single most honest person that you're going to meet today. Ronnie runs a YouTube channel called The Raging Atheist, and nearly 2 years ago, he decided to go after me in a video that he uploaded to his channel. Now, I know that our normal tendency is to fight people who disagree with us online, but this time, I decided to do something differently. Instead of hiding behind my keyboard, I actually hopped on an airplane and went to visit him in his hometown. This is I'm Listening.
You seem surprised that they wouldn't respond to someone who's attacking them anonymously.
It's what I expected, honestly.
Okay.
So I think when you did respond, it threw me for a loop, and I was flabbergasted. I'm like, holy crap, this guy actually responded to me. I don't know how to react to that. And I think that I'm not even sure how I first reacted to it, but I think it was somewhat positive. And I think it's how we've been able to become friends and keep a discourse over it. Because for some reason, I think usually I probably would have been like, screw you, Christian, go home. I don't want to talk to you. But something about the way that you approached me made me want to talk to you. And I think it threw me for a loop. I don't think I understood how to feel about it. I do remember getting on my Facebook and like, holy crap, that Christian vlogger just responded to me. I told everybody, and so I think I was very happy about it, but very confused because I wasn't expecting anybody that I ever to attack like that, especially when I was intentionally being disrespectful, to respond back in a positive way. If I were to get a response, I would have expected a negative response, not an open one like I got from you.
Yeah, did you think that was maybe just like strategy, or I was just kind of full of it, or?
No, I took it immediately that you were genuine, that you were, that this was just you, that I think that you were genuinely interested in why I would attack you, because I think a lot of the things I said probably wasn't true. I think back then I was being intentionally disrespectful. So I was also trying to be funny. So, and funny to an atheist isn't funny to a Christian. So,
well, for what it's worth, I think they were funny.
Yeah, well,
I think it's easier for me to look at it in that light precisely because, I know a lot of the accusations you gave to me were false.
Yeah.
So I could look at it through the lens of humor and just be like, oh, okay, well, this guy's put in a lot of energy because I know how much work it takes to create a video.
Yeah, it does.
It takes you probably spent hours on that.
Yeah.
And so just the fact
Maybe
that you
days.
would, or days, right? The fact that you would engage with my content, period, was already pretty cool.
See, I would have never expected that reaction. Especially back in those days. Like now, when I'm trying to really calm down, rein it in, and be more open to conversation instead of rejecting, your side of the conversation. I would expect that now, maybe, or maybe not even expect it, but maybe like it could be in the framework. Back then, I there's no way anybody would ever respond positively because I was intentional, not trying to lie, because I think that's one thing that I've never really done is lie. I've come from a place of truth, but I exaggerated that truth and I made it a lot more dramatic than it needed to be. And I would look for things that I know, all right, they probably don't mean it this way, but I'm going to say they mean it this way because I think they did, you know? So it was a learning process. Like the way that you responded to me, it really opened up my eyes. Like, you know, that it is possible that Christians can hear the worst thing you have to say about them and still be a Christian, you know, like still have that non-judgmental thing about them. And you don't see that from too many Christians or Muslims or any pagans sometimes can be, you said this, you're done, you know, to where you were really open. And it kind of opened my eyes that maybe not every theist is the way I thought theists were based upon my personal interactions leading up to that moment. I think that if I had met more people like you earlier in my life, then maybe things would have changed. You know, I don't know that though, because I do think that I have always asked the questions that I had. I think we talked about that. I've always had these questions that nobody really wanted to answer. So I think eventually I might have wound up where I was anyway. But I think maybe had I met more Christians like you, maybe I wouldn't have been the raging atheist.
As we're hanging out together in Ronnie's living room, one of the things that he brought up was that there were actually a few times that I wasn't sure that he would like me very much. You see, we had had a couple of positive interactions online, but every once in a while, I'd release another video around controversial subjects like sexuality and drugs, and he wasn't so sure anymore.
I didn't agree with everything that you said, but the fact that you were having the conversation, the fact that you were willing to have that and that's not the only one because you've had others. Your conversation with the pastor, I think he was a pastor, maybe a preacher. I can't remember what he was about marijuana. I thought was another just like really like these are the conversations I would like more Christians to be having. I'm not saying you should support marijuana, but have the conversations and be open to the change and be open to the nuances of it. I think that it really helped me start to end my anti-theism. I think a lot of people are afraid to have those conversations. And I think that if you were truly faithful and truly believed in God, you would want to have those conversations because you would want to defend that faith. It seems like a lot of Christians don't. And then that feeds atheists. Oh, you're scared. You don't really believe. You don't really have these convictions. You just say it to go along with society. So seeing a Christian actually do it, it was life-changing for me. And I'm sure you're not the only one. I'm sure that there are plenty of other Christians out there that do it, but you were the only one I had seen to that point.
Talk to me about what it was like living in this area. I know that you showed us a little bit about your home neighborhood, the actual house where it was, but in case we don't put that piece into this episode, what was it like growing up for you?
So if you are coming down this road at about 1 o'clock in the morning, you're going to see nothing but hookers everywhere. Some of them are going to be men. Some of them are going to be women. All of them are going to be crackheads. This is the Battle Creek that I grew up in. When my mom had me and my brother, we have another brother, but he lived with his mom. And they would all be downstairs drinking every night, partying, serious drugs, heavy drugs, smoking weed. And we would be upstairs mixing our Kool-Aid with their beer and stealing their weed and stealing, we wouldn't steal the heavy drugs they were doing. But that was how we grew up. You know, I was 7, 8 years old, smoking cigarettes, smoking weed, drinking. And that was a problem here in Battle Creek. It was a lot. Everybody was raised that way.
You were talking about stealing alcohol and weed from your parents or parties. Yeah. Is that a pretty regular occurrence for you guys?
Yeah, it happened probably 5 days a week. Yeah, we would essentially, so my parents would be downstairs, not just my parents, but the whole family would be downstairs and they'd be partying, getting drunk, and the kids would be upstairs, and, you know, we'd be very smart, and we would mix whatever alcohol we were stealing and put it in our Kool-Aid, so the parents didn't quite understand what we were doing. So sometimes that would be liquor and Kool-Aid, sometimes it would be beer and Kool-Aid, and as a grown man, I can't imagine the taste of that now. I don't know why, you know, as a child you do stupid things, but Yeah, it was Kool-Aid and beer a lot, and stealing weed from the parents. I think the first time I smoked a joint, I was 6 years old. So yeah, a different lifestyle, and we would have considered ourselves Christian back then, but I don't think most Christians today would consider us Christian.
You were telling me about a time where you began to lose your faith, that there was this moment in which you said a prayer and nothing happened.
Yeah. I was a sports star, and I hurt my ankle, and pretty much my sports career was ended. So I got.
What sports did you play?
I played football and basketball. I probably enjoyed football more because it was a place where I could get a lot of aggression out and be this big hulking man and actually be violent. So yeah, I would pray. Once I lost all of that, and I got that, it was originally the doctors prescribed morphine and really serious pain medications. That's originally what I got addicted to. You start substituting and finding ways. I was getting a lot of pills from a ex-military guy that hurt himself on the job, and he was getting a bunch of stuff, and he just wanted weed. So we would trade our weed, and he would give us our pills. And before I knew it, I was strung out. And yeah, I would pray almost every night for God to take away the drug addiction, to make me the son that my dad wanted me to be, to make me the writer that I wanted to be, because I've always had a passion for writing and wanting to be a novelist and write the great American novel. But essentially, I would have these prayers, and it didn't seem like they were being answered.
In the 14 or so hours that we hung out together that day, this idea of unanswered prayers would keep coming up. And it seemed like this was one of those reoccurring themes that he would keep pointing to as the reason as to why he would leave Christianity behind. And I was curious what those early prayers looked like. So I just asked him.
Pretty much just pleading with God, begging, take this away, make me normal. I remember saying that a lot. Why can't I be normal? Having conversations. Why am I this way? Why do I do these things? Why do I disappoint my dad? Why don't I want to be a normal person? I'd had these moments of clarification at night while I was praying, but then I'd wake up the next morning and go about doing the same things that I was doing before. And it was drug addiction. You think you can control it, but you can't. And then especially me as a 17-year-old, 18-year-old child, trying to deal with a very serious drug addiction, it got out of control, and it didn't seem like anything was helping. Not God, not my family, not my parents, not the people around me, I was on a path of destruction. I was 17 years old, I believe, when I committed the crimes. But basically, we got strung out. We started breaking into houses. I met some really bad people, and they basically wanted guns. And when you live in North Carolina, you're surrounded by guns everywhere. It's a sea of guns. So we could easily just kick in your door and steal 6 or 7 guns and have our drugs for the next month if we wanted to. And that's what we did. We had no remorse about it. I do remember having a remorse. I remember staking out houses and thinking to myself, this isn't me. This isn't who I should be. This isn't what I want to be. And probably sending prayers asking why I was this way. Why can't I be a normal person with compassion for people? I remember asking that question specifically because I didn't have any back then. I was a very bigoted person at the time, very bigoted towards a lot of different things. And I just met the wrong people. And I think that people don't realize how easy that is to do. Mm-hmm. It only took one person. We met one person, and that person introduced us to a world that we weren't prepared to be in. And it was basically, Mexican cartel members running a rinky-dink pool hall in the middle of nowhere in North Carolina. And they had a bunch of us 17-year-old rich kids strung out on drugs and doing their dirty work for them, getting them their guns. And that's what they wanted, and that's what we got. And went to prison for about 2 years for it.
So the question that I'm about to ask here might seem really in your face, might seem inappropriate, but I felt that given the context of the entire day and the fact that Ronnie and I are now friends, that this was a question that I felt safe to ask. I want you to know that I'm not angling here, not trying to catch him, not trying to have a gotcha moment. I just simply want to know, what was Ronnie thinking?
One of the things that I really appreciate about you is your pursuit of truth, to the extent that you're willing to have a conversation like this, where we're literally in your apartment. We spent all day together.
It's been great.
Yeah, absolutely. Likewise. And so I love that pursuit of it. And you've talked in kind of our offhand conversations about, maybe God does exist, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. And like you keep that very open-handed. And I think that's, what else can you do? Otherwise, you have to say, I have conclusive evidence that God does not exist, which is kind of bold.
And would be a lie.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what would it take for you to be in a position to reconsider atheism and to reconsider your relationship to Christianity? What would that look like?
I think more interactions with people like you. I think more interactions with Christians that are willing to accept atheists for what we are. Patience would go a long way. A lot of times I think humans have human reactions. So, if you're going to attack me, I'm going to attack you back, and then I'm going to have a dirtier view of your worldview after that. Just like I am sure that some of the people I have attacked have a very bad image of me, and for very good reason.
Right.
So I think that patience. I think that I have been examining atheism. Am I an atheist? Am I an agnostic? Do I still hold on to some God belief? As I spoke of earlier, I think that if you're anti-theist to the point to where you hate God, you're holding on to God belief. How can you hate something you don't believe in? So, these are questions that I'm asking myself every day. I don't think that a person intentionally trying to convert me will ever be able to do so. Matt Powell did. Him and his family failed. Like, he had his dad trying to convert me. He failed. I think that patience and just being yourself, or Christians being more of themselves instead of combative, which is going to be hard because atheists are combative. It's what we do. We like to argue. It's what makes us atheists. But like, if you're more patient with us, then you might show a lot of anti-theists, hey, all these Christians aren't like the Christians that I've been surrounded. I think a lot of us, and it's not. I'm not saying that we come to disbelief for any lack of knowledge. I think that if you're seeking knowledge, you're going to come to a more clear understanding of what you believe. Like, what would have to happen for me to really believe in a Christian God was I would have to be able to rationalize the barbaric things that I find in the Bible. I would have to be able to get past those things intellectually and understand that, that I think I would have to have maybe a community with me that would be able to say, hey, that Bible is ancient, so we're not going to live 100% by it, but God still exists. And I don't know. It's a really hard question because a lot of my problems with Christianity actually stem from the Bible itself. Huh. So a lot of the barbarisms, there's a huge debate in our community whether God endorses slavery or not in the Bible. So, it would be a lot for me to get past all those things. But I think that it could happen maybe if the atmosphere wasn't so toxic. If more Christians were like you, having these open conversations instead of a conversation that leads to, you're eating the brains of babies. We get that a lot. Actually, we get that a lot.
Unfortunately, I'm not unaware of those things. Yeah, yeah. One of my favorite quotes that I learned in world history was from one of these ancient philosophers, Xenophanes. He said something to the effect of, and I'm sure that this is like a loose translation: black people have black gods, white people have white gods, and if horses could draw, their gods would look like horses. This idea that we model gods after what we see in ourselves and what we want. And I'm curious, if you could craft the idea of God or whatever the deity is, and you could select what the attributes that this deity would have, what would the perfect God look like for you?
I think So for me, a perfect God of the massive universe would be a God that found us to be insignificant. I think we would be not even the size of an atom on the universal scale. So I think it would be really, especially with the Fermi paradox and not seeing any other life out there. I think that a God of the universe wouldn't care about a lot of the things that a lot of Christians thinks it cares about. I think that it would be, I don't know. Like,
Why do you think that this type of removed God, like this God that created and then leaves us alone, this deistic version of God, is preferable to a God who does care?
I don't see a problem with it, honestly. I think, as I said earlier, I think people are the problem. So I don't really think that it's so much a God. I do take issue with a lot of things that the Bible says, especially Old Testament. And I think a lot of Christians take issue with Old Testament as well. And I think that's the whole reason why Jesus did what he did and changed everything. A God interacting with the world to where it seems less plausible to me based on what I know about the universe. I don't have an issue with it like I did before. But what I do have an issue is how people use it sometimes. So going back to the NIV or other cults of Christianity that take it to an extreme, and the same can be said about atheists as well. That we have our extremists that take it to the extreme. I think that's more of the issue, and what drives us or keeps us driven away more than anything else is seeing bad behavior.
As we got to the end of our time together, I couldn't help but laugh at the irony of this entire situation. Here are two guys who started off as enemies on the internet and were meeting for the very first time in real life, and contrary to every expectation, we're not fighting and we're not arguing. In fact, after an entire day of shooting, we went to dinner, and Ronnie said something that has stuck with me. He said, "Justin, I feel like I've made a friend for life." And you know what? I couldn't agree more. Ronnie is exactly the kind of person that I want to have in my life, because what we have is so unusual. It's the kind of friendship where even in the face of disagreement, we can still be kind and thoughtful, knowing that our friendship isn't threatened simply because of a disagreement. So I don't know where you are after listening to this episode. Maybe you're thinking to yourself, that's not quite how I see things. And if that's the case, I think that's awesome. I hope that this becomes a place where you feel like you belong as well. Because at the end of the day, that's really what we're going for. Finding ways to connect to each other and grow together despite all of that.